last poem I'm going to do is from this book, Whorled. I'm trying to figure out. I feel like I need to do a North Dakota poem because almost every reader tonight mentioned North Dakota in their works. I don't know if you did anyone else notice that? Okay, I do because I'm from North Dakota, but I don't have any North Dakota poems. I need to get to work on that. No, I know the sugar beet plant well. It's a vision. It haunts me, and the smell of the sugar beet in across the river from Moorhead to Fargo, North Fargo. If you've never smelled it, it's very unique and distinct. And wherever I am, and wherever I smell burning sugar, it just takes me back to all the things. All right, I'm going to read an excerpt, Whorled. And I guess I should say that's the title of the book and the title of the poem. It was catalyzed by this fact I heard years and years ago, that every 2 weeks the final living speaker of a world language passes away. And with that speaker, the language goes, of course, but also, if you think about it, the culture. Their kids and grandkids, if they have any, they know a dominant language, whether it's Spanish, Russian, English, Chinese. And there are so many words. I did this reading yesterday at the German Language Immersion School on University Avenue in St. Paul. And they were talking, we were trying to figure out all these words in German that don't exist in English. Like, I'm going to butcher this, but you all will help me. Schadenfreude, or Schadenfreude, the pleasure you take in someone else's pain. How do you pronounce it? Schadenfreude. Yes, thank you. And because I was talking about, I'm Korean, and there's a lot of words in Korean that just don't exist in English. And if you know any other language, you know this is true for your language. And now you think about all the cultures and languages. There are currently 6,000 being spoken today. And by the time some of you probably will have kids that are in college, 90% of those languages will have gone extinct. They'll have evaporated as if they never existed. 90%, 9 out of 10 languages in just by 2050, this rate. So it's very personal because my father, when he was a young boy in school, he lived during the Japanese occupation of South Korea, and he, as a young schoolboy, one day was told, you can't speak Korean anymore. This is your new Japanese name. Here's a new Japanese textbook. If you don't speak Japanese, you will be punished, as will all your friends. And it was obviously very perplexing to him, but he got to know Japanese very well, very quickly. And then, of course, the Japanese occupation from 1910 to 1945 ended. There was liberation, and then there was another war, and then everyone started eventually learning English, and or if you were in North Korea, Chinese and Russian. But this has sort of been the plight of the Korean people throughout the centuries, whether they've been, it's a small country surrounded by superpowers, so whether it's the Chinese, the Japanese, the Mongols, the Manchus, the Americans, the Russians invading Korea, there's always someone who knows that the first way you colonize someone's mind is you take away their language. And yet the Korean language persists, although I'm losing more and more of it every day, which is probably also why I wrote this poem. It's called Whorled. I'll just read an excerpt. Dear speaker, in a future age when only a handful of tongues remain, I write this to you as a song, even as I know it won't do. Even as I know the words I speak are devastation. I don't expect you to understand, but I want you to know there's another language in which I dream. Sometimes I think it's Korean. Other nights my dead harmony sewing together a broken room. Or my neighbors, a family of Ojibwas, welding their minivan cinder blocks teetering. Summer evenings, the Hmong girl and boy echo hide and seek with cousins down the street. Or this spring, Juan, the Mexican kid next door. Suddenly 14, shuffling steps on the corner, baggies stuffed in his shorts, truant every afternoon. I see him some days through my window, rapping in a back alley alone in broken English to his iPod, as I've seen him since he was 10. Youngest of 4 undocumented brothers in a boarding room basement I watch through their window well, like an evening TV show whose writers are all angry drunks. And I wonder what will happen to this slightly dumpy boy's heart, out of sync with his tongue. The only 2 muscles you really have to move with wings through this world. A shiny black SUV pulls up each Friday. He climbs in, and I wonder if I did the right thing 3 years back by urging my other neighbor, an old white woman, not to call the cops on him. Dear speaker, in a future age when only a handful of lexical bouquets remain to light these monstrous highways, I write this to you as a human piece of coal, origin of orange, shelved away in some petrified repository, even as I know it's too late for you to bind and open me, even as I know yet another world language will become extinct this week, forever gone, like Atlantis or Montezuma's kingdom, Sumerian, Gothic, Koguryo, Tasmanian, Scots, Gaelic, Mohawk, Iroquois, like a global hurricane of power and indifference, veering toward Flemish and Basque, Ainu, and Anishinaabe, and yes, one day, if turnabout is fair play, maybe even this language I tease apart each night for inconsistencies to house me. I wish I could tattoo this prayer to my palm, even as I know it's way too long, longer than my body, my whole life, this eviscerated pink and black spilling through the forest of my sleep. Though yesterday, just another passionate Somali debate awakening me on the 21A. A mismatched couple whispering over borscht and pirashki at Kamarchek's on Hennepin. Once some Greek harangue over the baklava's freshness at Bill's imported yeah and the fatai every Sunday I supersize, whose bony broth brings tears to my eyes in Frogtown, and sometimes I know I'm just another ghost passing through this century, one of a long line of hungry souls before me, each a spiritual refugee. Dear Father, who art in heaven, who fled your homeland, war-torn in flames, I relinquish you from the preterite, spiritual RNA erased by missionaries and sunglass generals handing out candy, cigarettes, crosses, and European names. Dear future, I'm writing you from an imperfect case in a secret code I've had to reinvent myself with. Associations and inflections, rawest of imaginations, a disciple of time in a bulky patois, adrift, migrant with no motor, canvas, or oars. Only these few city stars, faulty neon thresholds. I don't know where any of us is going, but I'm sure on the other side of the world there's a language I have never heard. It is beautiful. In this dying tongue, there are words for love and God that resemble bread and wing. Another forest language in which mother and knife equal drawer and sing. An island wood is somewhere desert milk, and berry elsewhere is a door. And if you added up all these dying words and the people who speak them, all their memories, histories, and lessons, all their gods, jokes, rituals, and recipes, if you learned and stirred them over and again until each utterance became a star, a new footprint, the marrow of a poem. Dear speaker, in a future age when not 6,000 or 3,000 or even a dozen, but only one origin of the world remains. I write this to you as an elegy. In the beginning, there was a word, but it got lonely. So it prayed for brothers, sisters, and neighbors until love was born. But along with it came shame, passion, greed, benevolence, and need. And soon, some of the words became flowers and trees, and others animals, and eventually some were human beings, queens and workers, kings And the